The following podcast is brought to you by Cast Content Media.
Hey guys, it's Ron Worley, your most imperfect host of Sons of Ditches. People are liars, thieves, addicts, and assholes. Some people change, and a few make a difference. But everyone has a story. Another episode of Sons of Ditches. We're wearing the same clothes. It's Jayson Garcia from Naturally Inspired Podcast and Ron Worley on another episode of Sons of Ditches, brought to you by Cast Content Media. You can always find us on ronworley.com, sonsofditches.com, and YouTube at Sons of Ditches. So we're going to talk about, this episode, we're going to talk about feel, filter, think, flow.
Okay.
Question marks should be going off all in your head. But here it is basically. So we always live in the matrix, or people live in the matrix. I choose not to. I have not been in the matrix in roughly 9 years.
Okay.
I try to make my decisions unemotionally.
Okay.
Now, I'm not perfect at it by all means, but when we live in emotion, we're living in the matrix. We're living in other people's construct of our life. People make us angry, and we make a reaction or a decision based on that emotion. So I try not to do that, and Jim Hensel, again, my right-hand man, he came up with feel, filter, think, flow.
Okay.
FFTF.
Okay.
And so basically all that's saying is, okay, you feel an emotion, and we're going to attach, so now we're into filter. The filter is your values.
Okay.
Okay, so we got feel and filter. We attach those two, and that helps us think.
Okay.
So that we can flow and be productive.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, when you're highly emotional, you're really not getting shit done.
No, you're just caught up in that emotion. That's it. That's all you're thinking about.
Right.
If you're how to be angry, or if you're angry, or whatever. Yeah.
Right. I think the classic example is always with my wife. She can bring out my emotion. And I tend to run a little higher on the meter of emotion. I'll explain that part in a minute, but I'm a little bit higher more emotional with my wife.
Okay.
And then the hot button hits, and then I lose my train of thought. If I get angry, it's over.
Right.
Can't think at all.
Right.
So then you say stupid shit, and then you got to make apologies later.
Right.
So
That's high.
I've made it sort of my try effort every day to not have to apologize for my own actions.
Okay.
And so it's easier to do that if I feel, filter, think, flow. It's a very tough, long process to get used to, but it's a very easy thing to do. But the first thing you have to do is have values.
Okay.
And of course, you can go to Mayhem Mindset and or ronworley.com. We can set you up to get your own values. But once you have those values, you're able to connect those to the feeling. My secretary right now is going through a gruesome thing in her personal thing in her family, and I'm not going to mention what it is or anything, but she's highly emotional right now.
Yeah.
She's upset. She's a wreck. And so I'm trying to connect her to who she be, her values, her talent, her purpose.
Got it.
Trying to connect her to that with her emotion so that you can think about your next decision, so that we can flow and basically be productive.
So like when you say flow, I guess I kind of have a definition of flow, like what I've learned over the years. But what does that mean to you? Like what?
Well, so flow like a river. If you put a dam in it, it's going to stop flowing. We want the dams out, and the dams are the emotion. Just keep it out. You can only be productive without emotion for the most part. Even an athlete. If you think about an athlete, especially CrossFitters, they talk about keeping their emotion way down.
Okay.
A football player, they're way up before the game. You see them,
getting all into it.
Right, and so there's sort of a meter, if you will. This meter is one side is emotion, the other side is energy. Okay. Energy equals values. Emotion is feelings. Okay. You got a 1 through 10. 1 being no emotion at all.
Okay.
10 being maxed out, you're going to pop. It's a lot of emotion.
Got it.
And a football player is probably on an 8, a
Right.
9, maybe even a 10. Whereas a CrossFitter, they've got to be at a 1, 2, or 3, keep their stuff at bay because they're expending energy through emotion.
I see.
And so if you're blowing your wad before you even get started, you're not going to
Right.
have a very good
Right, you're
wad.
done.
Yeah.
Right.
Blowing your wad, that actually is what they call them, WODs, WOD,
Uh-huh.
workout of the day. That's what CrossFitters do is WODs.
Oh, really?
Not the other WOD. The blow your wad before you start. So it's a great connection made.
I was like, really? So like CrossFitters, like what? Like CrossFitters, like what is that? See, what is that?
What is a CrossFit
Yeah,
workout?
like what is that?
So they do a lot of Olympic moves and things. They do it for time or reps.
Okay.
So, a workout of the day may consist of, they have to do 600 push-ups, 30 burpees,
Okay.
pull-ups, the works.
Got it.
They may have to do some Olympic lifts in there as well. And they've got to do this for time. And it's a workout designed
Okay.
for a great workout.
Yeah,
but it's
sure.
also a cardiovascular workout. And
Sure.
insane. A lot of fun. I used to do it before the heart stuff,
Yep.
and it was like my life for a while. It was
Really?
really fun.
It gets addicting.
It's addicting.
Yeah.
Really addicting. And it's one of those things that they make it individual because you can compete. You compete with yourself.
Yeah.
Or you
right.
can go compete with others too. So.
Well, and that's why I asked, because I know CrossFit, like it's been a big thing.
Yeah.
It started and I've seen it before. I've done it before. We were doing a kickboxing thing where we would kind of fit in these we call them HIIT workouts.
Yep, I do hits now.
Yeah, and so but I wanted to just kind of get an idea. So or do they do it on time and they do compete?
Yeah.
They do.
Oh
okay.
yeah. There's huge competitions. In fact, Mayhem Mindset. Mayhem is Rich Froning. Rich Froning was a 5-time world champion CrossFitter, and he really put CrossFit on the map.
Okay.
And you look at him, and he's like, a normal-looking guy, but
Right.
he can literally clean and press like 400 pounds or something ridiculous. He's just insane. But he worked out 8 hours a day. He lived, breathed. Everything was CrossFit, and he's become a millionaire off of this athlete.
Off of that.
Yeah.
Did he say something controversial in the last? I wonder if that's the same dude, because I heard something about. It was no big deal. It was almost like a political thing or something, but
Very well could be,
okay.
because he's very values oriented, and it is what it is, and he's confrontational quite a bit. When he's competitive.
Cool.
Anything I've seen, I don't know the man.
Right.
But I watch videos and things, and he's very well connected to his B.
Okay.
And he probably has to practice like the rest of us dudes in competition, how to filter,
Yeah.
think,
How
flow.
to maintain that energy.
Yeah. Because you think about a CrossFitter, let's call it a golfer.
Yeah.
They can't go out there on an 8 or a 9 level
Right.
emotionally and do well.
Right.
Just not going to do it.
Right.
You have to be patient, and so there's different times when you can be emotional and when you can't.
Right.
When my family comes together on Thursdays, I'm an 8 or a 9. I'm having fun. I'm not thinking. I'm not like wrapped up in anything. It's just fun.
Right.
But when I'm with my wife and she's working and I'm working, we're at a 2 or a 3, and we're trying not to really get our emotions up there. We're not going to, we need to keep flowing, keep work going.
Right. And that makes sense. You get your emotions up, and like even you said, like with football players, they're intense. Probably at first, you see them getting all riled up and smacking each other on the helmets and all that stuff. But within the game, they have to learn how to maintain that, right? Bring it down and just kind of maintain that, maintain that energy and focus. Right. So, then that's a good way to put it. I don't think people they don't really get that. They don't really know how to, and that's weird. Like we were talking before in that last episode, school doesn't teach you stuff, but it's so important that people learn the little things that you would never, I think there's so many things that we are expected just to know. Right. And the problem is that we're expected to know, so we feel like, almost dumb trying to learn those things. Right.
I was raised that I felt stupid asking the question.
Yeah.
If I didn't know, I just pretended
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah.
And that gets you in trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
it's always good to ask the question. Unfortunately so let's take our kids, for example, today. They sit at home a lot more. They're doing school even online now.
Yep.
And they've got this pent up emotion. If you look at our kids, we have a lot more ADD. We have a lot more emotional instability in the world today.
Right.
Because there's no outlet for it.
Right.
They're
Right.
playing games. They're getting pissed off and yelling at this imaginary person on a phone.
Right.
Or on their headsets.
Right.
There's no real physical outlet for it.
Right.
They're not able to handle emotion.
Right.
You think about, so back in our day, you fight it out, you punch each other in the
Right.
face, and it was done.
It was done.
Yep.
Yep.
So, they need a different way to work through it now. And I think that's where FFTF works.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's very important to introduce that to people and get people plugged into working through that.
Yeah.
Right? Because you know what I see nowadays? I almost see, when we were growing up, it was more the females were more, it's like, okay, now everybody says, okay, females, they get emotional, and maybe they do, right? Because it's a hormonal thing, whatever,
Sure.
right? But they were able to kind of handle themselves better.
Right.
When we were growing up, it seemed like when I was growing up, there was the guys that were always like, they have these outbursts,
Yeah.
right?
Anger outbursts.
And I think it's almost reversed now. Men are we're not allowed to show any kind of emotion, especially anger.
Right.
Right. Nothing like that. But it's almost acceptable now for women to do it.
Yep.
I see way more, like if I'm rolling through YouTube or whatever, you see way more women. I saw this the other day because the gas shortage out east. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
Some gal came in, hit this guy. She gets out of her car, spits at him through his window. He gets out of her car, and they start going at it. And she's like literally going for it.
It's
right?
amazing.
It's amazing.
Dude. They got balls now.
It's amazing.
I don't want to piss any women off. Trust me, I don't. But by design, we as men are more oriented towards code and value. We're cavemen that went out and hunted.
Right.
We
right.
provide.
Right.
We're proud of our family.
Right.
I use the analogy of we take care of our pride. Mm-hmm. Well, that's our family
right.
in lion
right.
talk.
Lion, yeah.
But it's also our pride, how we feel. I don't
Sure.
feel like a man if I'm not providing.
Right.
If I'm not working my ass off, I don't feel like a man.
That's right.
And women are supposed to be emotional creatures.
Yeah.
They fly more by their emotion.
Yeah.
It makes for a great child.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not what's happening anymore.
Yeah.
Men are becoming more emotional,
Yeah.
and women are the breadwinners more often, and they
Right.
have had to become the provider, and
Right.
and by choice. I mean, it
Yeah.
is what it is. But we have a lot more single mothers out there. We have a lot more single fathers out there, and classic example is I was a single father and for a lot of years, and I had to be both parents.
Right.
So kiss the boo-boos and
Right.
man talk your child. It was,
Right.
I think it's all valid.
Mm-hmm.
Had I known the FFTF, I probably would have been able to help my kids emotionally a lot better.
Yeah.
I almost was narcissistic with their emotions. Every time they felt something, I felt it. And it was a lot of learning to figure out how not to do that, because you
Yep.
sure as hell don't give them a good consequence when it hurts you too.
No, you don't. Yeah, that's right. You don't. And it's kids need that. Any young adult kid, they need that. They need that that kind of that structure and that security.
Yep.
Right. So if I see this a lot, I saw it with growing up and certain family members and stuff. They wanted to be their kids' friend more than they wanted to be their kids' parent.
Yes.
Right. And I saw the value in that because they wanted to relate to their kid, but
Right.
at the same time, when the child was like, you really needed that structure and that mentorship. They're not going to go to their friend for that, right?
Right.
And so it's like all these things that kind of come in, right, and that play into life and your lifestyle and things. And I think that's why we see especially in America, because I can't really talk for other countries, but in America, I just see this whole lifestyle, this whole structure and everything just falling apart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
And it's like, where's it going to go next?
Someone told me we have 18 years to be a parent and the rest of our lives to be a friend.
That's right. Yep.
And it's so true. And I think we've all got friends that are in that same situation.
Sure.
We've got bosses, spouses, just people in general that have not learned how to deal with their emotion.
Right.
That fly off the handle or make decisions that are wackadoo because they're emotional that day.
Yeah.
The worst I do now is I buy shit when I'm emotional. If I'm happy, I'm buying something.
Right.
So my wife tries to keep me pretty angry, but
so you're not spending money.
right. But that I think the world is lacking the ability to deal with feelings.
Yeah.
All day. They just don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
We've spent so much time protecting people from them.
Right.
That we're not dealing with them.
Not dealing with them. And I think, my wife and I talk about it all the time, but, being angry doesn't mean you're going to act on your anger.
Right.
Right? It just means you're angry.
Bingo.
And you're okay. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to, it's not okay to act on it and do things that are going to harm yourself or people.
Right.
But to be angry, it's okay.
Right.
And nowadays, you can't even be that. And
get your ass in trouble.
Yeah, you get in trouble, and then it's like, but then you see it. You just see it, and then you just boom, people explode. And I think, and then there's so many. Man, you just like I saw the other day, the suicides are just through the roof and stuff,
gosh,
right?
It's
and
crazy.
You got to think: is it because these people are angry and they don't know they're not allowing themselves to voice their anger?
Don't know what to do.
They're holding it in, and then just boom, right? Whatever, however they end up doing it, and it's so sad, man.
It's really sad, and I think if we take the time to learn how to deal with that emotion personally, we can actually make rules for the emotion. I call it a ring.
Okay.
I take it to the ring. If I'm angry, I give it myself a defined parameter of time. That's my ring to be pissed off.
Yeah.
And I can do whatever I want to in that minute. I try not to punch things anymore.
Yeah.
My hands hurt.
Yeah.
But right now, that's what I do. So if I'm pissed off, I give myself 2 minutes to be pissed off. That was bullshit, and then move on.
Yeah.
And then it's done, and you've dealt with it, and it feels like you got closure in it, and you move on from it. That's all part of the flow.
And so how do you feel, because it's those are things I see, like, those are tools.
Yeah.
And tools that we don't learn, right? Going back, but tools that probably was introduced to you from someone maybe over time figuring out, shit, I got to get a handle on this.
Yeah.
And then they kind of come up with a tool or a system, and then they're like, it's worked for me. How can I help others with it, right? But those are tools that most people are not taught or not given, right?
Yep.
And so how are you able to bring those tools into your life and use them so productively? You know what I mean? How long has it taken you? A while to be able to do that? Okay.
Yeah, 5 years of intensive counseling, once a week, sometimes twice a week there for a while.
Yeah.
And my counselor would say things, but I had to make them into tools that worked for me.
Yeah.
So I always say it's like I'm running through a red light. One day I run through a red light and I get smashed by a car.
Yeah.
So the next time you go through that red light, you make it through, but you're going through the second time through that same intersection where you got hit by a car, and you tend to slow down even though the light's green, and cautiously look and make sure no one's going to smash you.
Right.
And it makes a process right before you're going into the red light.
Yep.
Or the green light. And so I have a life full of processes.
Right.
By having my Worley Way in my life, that's a big giant process, but it's made it easier to have these tools at my disposal. And so what it does is it actually slows me down from making rash decisions. You know, now I add this FFTF to my life, and that's another way to bounce the ball and take a second to rationalize and keep it going. It is very difficult to use these tools, to use values in your life. It takes years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I really didn't even start using them well until I started writing the book, and then I was breaking them down. Like, why am I doing this? Like, I use this value, but why am I using this value?
Yeah.
And then there's all these tools in between it. And, you know, the ring, I made that up because I was fighting as a kid, and my dad drew a ring in the driveway, and he said, "You two get in there and fight." And that made sense to me. Like, when we left that ring, me and my brothers were cool.
Right.
You know, it was done. So, you know, it was a tool I made up to try and help other people because it helped me, but I didn't even know it was helping me until I broke it down.
Yeah.
So, and I think everybody's got to really, every person growing up, every person trying to change their lives, they've got to put the time in.
Yep.
And, you know, for a while, it's just going to suck, man.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't ever change. I mean, shoot, I still lose it every once in a while. I'm still apologizing at least once a day. So.
Yeah, and that's okay. The thing is with me is that, you know, I think 80% of it, right? I mean, I always refer back to that Pareto principle, 80-20 principle or whatever. But, you know, I always break it down like that. But 80% of it is just developing, like thinking, having the thought of being able to develop these little systems or little tools. It doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect 100% of the time.
No.
I remember I saw. Are you familiar with Deepak Chopra?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I saw one time I saw like a documentary about him, and you know, he was losing it and stuff outside of, and you think, you know, I had to sit there and think, how many PBS specials and stuff have I seen with this guy where he's telling people and people are crying and shit in the audience because they're getting what he's saying, but yet you go behind the scenes and they're still right. They still have stuff they're working through. Right. And that's okay. I mean, it goes
fallible.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the situation where people don't realize that, so they have to be. It's like the talent thing. They have to feel like they have to be perfect all the time, or fuck it. Why even try?
Yeah.
Right.
That is our social media at its best.
Sure.
And good golly, my kids tell me a lot of things they see on there, and it's mostly humor and stuff. So I often wonder how much of that's sticking in. Like, my kids hear whatever this guy said, you know, one little line, and they use it for their life. And I think, how much of that are they getting on the wrong side of that too?
Right.
You know, how much are they seeing celebrity boy over here doing something stupid or saying something easy, and you know, they just think life is easy. And aside from emotion, good God, life is difficult. Right. And it's not a one-liner. No. Our whole world has turned into 30-second TikTok blips.
I know, man. It's so weird. It's so
so
strange.
Dumb.
It's so strange. And I think, you know, like lately, I think going through this whole virus thing, pandemic thing, I mean, you're really starting to see how people they've never addressed the thought of dying. Right. And it's like, I'm not saying that we have to think about it all the time, but you know, at least you have to understand that, hey, eventually all of us are going to, right? And you had a brush with it, right? Yep. And so what did that do? That made you realize a whole other life, all these other things, right?
I had to learn to live at that point.
Yeah, and but yeah, you see all these people that are just they're still so fearful of it, but not using that fear in a productive way, being trapped by that fear. Right? Yeah. And not thinking, okay, this is going to happen eventually. How can I leave my mark on the world or my family or whatever, right? Taking it to that productive side. Right. So it's interesting. It's interesting, which is important. That's why you're doing what you're doing. I would assume to take people through that process, to help people learn that. You know, when I first started getting into personal development, it was, I couldn't put it down. Yeah. because it was new to me. It was fresh. It was positive, and it was like it made sense to me. You know,
well, and it's ever changing. It's never the same.
Yeah,
it's great. You know, on that note, I think yes, that's the purpose of this show, is to help other people understand that we're all out there. There's all these stories out there, and people that it's a story of overcoming things, and these people that hopefully I interview the rest of the season have the values and purpose and talent to really, they've gone ahead of their struggles, their adversity, and now they're doing something great with it.
Yeah.
Which is basically the same thing as learning how to live.
Right.
So, you know, I've died and I learned what that was like, and now I'm learning how to live.
Right.
Because we're going to die. Like,
yeah.
I don't even count on tomorrow. So,
right.
You know, like it's not guaranteed anymore.
No.
So it's important that we all catch that. And so why spend so much time being pissed off at this or that, or, you know, and you can't live in happy all the time either.
No.
It's probably irrational to think that way.
Yeah. Because then you start crossing that line of like being fake.
Right.
I mean, and you can't, I don't think you can be real and be happy all the time, you know? And
Agreed.
I think the most influential people out there, maybe the people that get the most attention could be either the over emotional people on one side of the spectrum or the other, the real angry people that we are just addicted to, or the real happy people, right? But the real people are what the real people make the biggest mark on the world.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
And so it's so important to just to learn those tools like you're talking about, right? Go through learn the skills. It's like just skills, and that's what I think. If people looked at it like it's just another little skill, skill,
just collect them.
Yeah. Doing a podcast, another skill. Writing a book, a skill, right? I mean, and those are the things. It's just if you can collect those skills, eventually you're going to be able to share them with someone, and then just kind of pass it on, right?
Amen.
Pay it forward. So.
Very good. I think that probably should wrap it up.
Okay.
Huh? All right.
Yep. Sounds good.
That's another episode of Sons of Ditches, brought to you by Cast Content Media. My friend Jayson Garcia with Cast Content Media, but also with Naturally Inspired Podcast. Thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
That was a lot of fun. We may do this again if I can't get guests and stuff. So whatever.
We got some good guests coming up, though.
We do,
Tom Terwilliger.
Tom Terwilliger. Tell me a little bit about him. You know more than I do.
Yeah, Tom. You know, he's been on the Naturally Inspired Podcast. He was a great guest. He's a bodybuilder. He's a championship bodybuilder. Big time into personal development.
Yeah.
He's written a few books, and he's a really great guy to listen to.
I connected with him today because he said, "You're a get shit done guy," and I went, "Well, yes, I am."
Right.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
He's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
He's been through a thing or two in his life.
Sure.
His story is amazing. I can't wait to hear it with you guys. And then we have a few more guests coming.
Tom Chenault to come. He's a guy that's totally overcome addiction, and he's known throughout the world now in his industry, and you know, it's just so important to hear these stories, man, and share with people these stories, because it's the inspiration. So many people feel like they can't get it done, and once they hear these guys and hear your story, they're going to have another outlook.
Right.
So
well, this is what Cast Content Media has done for me. They've really helped me put this show together, but also with the guests. So if you ever want to do podcasts, hey, give them a call. Where do they go? CastContentMedia.com.
Yeah, CastContentMedia.com. They can fill out a form there and check it out, and we'd love to help them. You know, and the big thing with us is we want to help people get their message out.
Yeah.
And promote their stuff, whatever it may be, and just get the message out, because there's too many people need to hear what's going on. You know.
Get on here and twiddle your thumbs if that's all you want to do.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yep.
You can find me on YouTube at Sons of Ditches, all the Facebooks and all that good fun stuff.
Yep.
But go to ronworley.com or sonsofditches.com and you'll find us there. Until next time, thanks, guys.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Sons of Ditches. For more information, go to my website, ronworley.com, and my YouTube channel, Sons of Ditches. Facebook, Ron L. Worley, or Instagram at Ronald L. Worley II.